All right, everyone. We're going to continue on with some guitar string changing, the basics. I'm just going to quickly go through a string change here. And Dave, if you have any questions, you can ask me. This is Dave's guitar. Thank you, Dave, for being so generous and lending your guitar for the video.
No problem.
But yeah, so we'll just go right into it. I already did the high E. Normally I wouldn't do the high E string. It was for the other video we did for the, oh no, I broke my high E, what do I do? Did a quick video on that. But normally what you want to do, just as the strategy, is put this one in first.
And which one's that?
We put the low E
That's it.
first.
Okay.
So that when I go to do the A string, the E string ends up being out of my way. And I keep going further and further away. You're going to see when I get to the end now with this high E string in the way, I'm going to be kind of like tight working here, because this is going to be blocking me. Here, let me go change the view here real quick, where you can see better. But like this high E string all over here, it's going to be in the way of me accessing the pegs on this side. Kind of annoying. You can still do it, it's fine, but always it's just much better to start on the sixth string, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, in that way. So the big string, the low E, and that way. If you have 3 and 3, well then you're going to go first string and sixth string, second and fifth, third and fourth, so that you stay out of your own way when you're putting the, anyways. You'll see what I mean when you mix it up. Nothing bad is going to happen. You're just going to be a little annoyed by the process and be like, oh, that's what he meant. If I do this first, it'll be way more enjoyable of a process. But no one enjoys really changing their, I don't think, at least. Many people enjoy changing their strings. Okay, so, like I said, I have the high E on. So now, I gotta remove all the other strings. I've already sort of started on that. But I'm gonna just pull them out here. And you know what this is? The end of your strings get all kind of curled up like that. And when I pulled it through, I pulled really fast when I pulled it, but sometimes I've had it where this goes and scratches the body of the guitar. It didn't happen to me this time here, but I'm just warning you that can happen. So if you're really like tight or unsure of your situation of being able to get other replacement strings and you want to keep these as a backup, some people keep them as a backup, then you have no choice. You got to yank it through the body of the guitar real quick and try to avoid any scratching. But otherwise, the best way to go about it is I'll just cut that spinny part, twirly part off, so that when I pull it through, there's way less risk of it scratching the finish of my guitar. It's much easier. Got all that there, whatever. We'll just put this in here. Now, as you can see in the video, what I've done is I've set myself up here with a pillow, and it keeps the neck up a bit. It's just easier access like this. Often, if I wasn't doing a video, I'd just be doing this like on my lap. So that works too. Like I just always usually do it on my lap. But if you have a workstation, like this is really nice to have the neck elevated and all that. So just a little bonus tip there, but not necessarily. Like, of course, when you break a string and you're at jam practice or whatever, you're gonna throw one on like I did in the other video. You'll see the other video. So now, Dave, this was like the E, the A, and the D?
Yep.
Okay, so I go just... One thing that happened just before is Dave started taking the strings out and he had put them in the correct order. The only thing is I've done that before myself, and it takes one person to walk in and not realize what it is that you're doing, or you drop something and then all the strings get moved, and now you don't know what the order. And there is a way to figure out and get out of that problem, but it's just really annoying. And then you're always kind of wondering, second guessing yourself, like, hey, did I put the right string at the right place? So don't take the strings out of the pack. Some of the D'Addario brand strings, they're color coded on that little ball stopper, so then it doesn't matter. But these ones, they weren't color coded, so you just keep them in the pack and take your time and just go one at a time until they're on the guitar. You don't want to lose their identification that is written on that pack. Okay. One other little thing I didn't mention. We didn't bring tons of guitar cleaner and stuff, but I like to take the opportunity to try to just remove a little bit of dust. Now that we have a little better access here, just clean it up a little tiny bit. That'll be enough. Okay. We'll get the last ones, and we may as well just get them all in, and then I can move to the next step. Now, I don't know why, every guitar that I've ever had, you'd think that they'd make it so that you could just slip this through the hole nice and easy, but no. For some reason, why would this be? There we go, fine. It's just no rhyme, no reason, it just doesn't want to go through. It's catching, and the string has a mind of its own. And then here's an 11. The last gauge here. Hopefully this one's going to want to go through without being too annoying. Come on. There we go. Okay. So, I've gotten all my strings in down here. I know I'll have to do a better video with a better camera angle so that you can see down here a little better, but they just slip through, the strings just slip through the back and they're coming over the top here like that. So, like I was saying, I'll just put them all to the side now. Let me get to so, like I was saying, I'm going to start on my low E string and then keep moving down that way. And the way I do it is I don't want to start putting in my string and pulling it to as tight as I can with my hand like this and then just start cranking it with my crank or cranking it with my fingers. I need to have a little bit of slack in the string that when I start winding, I'm going to take up that slack and have a few, I call them wraps. They wrap around the post of our tuner here. So I measure at least, I'll come over here like this. So I'm going for this one. I'm going to measure at least one, if not like one and a half to two. So that's one. I'm going to go with 1.5. That low E is big, so you need to not go too much. So now, with that measurement, I'm holding the measurement. And I get the string through the hole of the peg, and I stop where I hit my measurement. And I have all this slack here now in the string that I want to take up. So I'll start winding. And I apply a little pressure with my index finger here against the peg and the hole where the string where my measurement was. And I push on that because what I want to do is, you can see how I bent the string there. You don't want to bend it anywhere else, otherwise it might break there and your brand new string change was for nothing. But I go and I kink it there because now what I can do is I can basically kind of put some tension on the string while I'll crank, because you have to put tension on the string as you crank. That was something that it takes a little bit of practice to get the swing of that. So I'm pulling a little tension and I'm going to start wrapping it. And you notice here this extra bit of string? Well, my first wrap, I'm going to go up and not under it. I'm going to go up. And I'm going to let this extra bit of string, you see, it's tough. I'm holding tension. I'm letting this extra in. It takes a bit of trial and error before you get your little tricks down. So you could see here on the camera how this is going to wrap around, but on top of that extra bit of string. So let me go and continue. So I've started my first wrap around, and you see how this extra bit of string is kind of going down. I like to just kind of gently pull it so that it's more upward now. And then I'm just going to keep cranking. And notice here now with my tension that I'm holding, I'm going to go downward now and wrap every wrap around that post downward. And this helps for the stability of the tuning. It helps a lot. So now I just crank and have every wrap go downward. So now they're all going down. So I've taken up pretty much most of the slack. Before you go and tighten it, you got to go back to your other spot down here and make sure that you're in the right groove. If you're not in the right groove and you start to crank it all up, you could snap the string right there and it's like you got to start this whole thing all over again. So I am in the right groove here. I will just tighten it just a little bit.
And also the same groove for the nut too, eh?
Yeah, and we're going to do the same thing up here. Make sure that we're in the proper groove, because otherwise the string's like all bent and weird and out of shape. And like I kinked it, I bent it before to get it to stay on the tuning peg. But that kink or that bend creates like this weak spot now. And you're going to go and you're going to crank that up, and it might be right away, it might be, but it usually wants to break right at that spot. So you really don't want to bend the string anywhere other that one spot that I was saying. So now this extra bit of string that's sticking out, I'll cut them off at the end. I'm going to just run through now. I won't do it nearly as much talking. I'm going to just have you see down over here, and I'm going to just get the whole rest of the string change done. So one last little thing is that when I'm down over here, sometimes that little stopper inside can get stuck somewhere. It's hard to, you have to kind of almost visualize it in your mind. It's weird, but you want to make sure that it's up and seated as properly as you can sort of, I guess, imagine seeing it. Because over time, with a little bit of experience, when it does catch in a funny, weird place, you'll see, because all of a sudden you'll be tuning and it pops into the correct place, and you got like all this slack on the string again, and it can cause its own little problems or make that bend in the string where it'll snap again, and it can be annoying when it's not seated properly. So just another little thing to think about. So let me get to it. Let me get this done. So I'm here. This is where I'm going for my A string. I'm going to go 1-2 pegs further. That's my measurement. Feed it through. And I'm going to take up all the slack. first wrap around is above this extra bit. And then I'm gonna hold my tension and angle it downward for all the others. All the other wrap arounds. Get the string out of my way a little bit. And this is where the crank really helps. Go a lot quicker. Take up that slack. As I take up that slack, I make sure down over here, the other end, that I'm in the right groove, in the right slot for it, so I don't snap or bend the string. And then at the very end, you do your tuning. You just want to get a little bit of basic tension on there. And then I snap these things off at the end as well, because if ever there's something you need to adjust, it's always nice to have like that extra bit. Usually you shouldn't have to, but anyway, so here, now this is where I want to be. I go 1, 2 pegs further, that's my measurement. Feed it through. Always the same process. First, wrap around above this extra bit of string. Bend it up and a little out of my way. And all the other wraps, I wrap down the peg. Very end, when I'm almost done taking out the slack, I make sure I'm in the right position. Good, and I'll tune it up later. All right, next one. That's where the peg that I want to be at. I go 1, 2 pegs further from my measurement. Fingers stop me at my measurement.
Hold it up a bit for you there.
And I press with my index to give that string the bend. And then that way it holds in place while I put the tension. And like before, 1 wrap above. And all the other wraps below. Why do we do this? Just a quick reminder, it's because it's going to give you way better tuning stability. Just in general, if you notice how the guitar neck comes like this, and then this part drops down like that, and it's because anything past the nut here, as we go down, just like wrapping down the post, it goes, that extra angling really it's physics. I'm not a physics professor here, but the physics make it that it's night and day. The tuning is just so much more stable. So I take up the slack. Now this one is caught in between there. Let me go here. We're almost done. Our string change. A very basic one. We haven't done any cleaning or fretboard conditioning. We've got a performance coming up, so we want to just get some new strings on, and we're not going for the whole fancy, not fancy, but you know what I mean. We're not going for the whole detailing, cleaning and detailing. We're just doing the string change and getting to our gig. So 1 wrap above. And then all the other wraps below. Take up that slack in the string. Oh, because when you run out of pegs, I was just measuring like imaginary pegs, if you will, by just by eye. Doesn't have to be, we're not building a race car here. We're just putting on a string, an extra wrap or an extra half wrap or less. Won't matter that much. The point is we need that. We need some slack. We need to take up some slack. Like I might have put a little too much on this one, but it doesn't matter. It's gonna do the job. And always remember that you're in the right slot before you tighten this up. I have broken, when I was a teenager, I would forget that and broke so many strings. So, word to the wise. All right, so there you have it. That is our basic string change. There are a lot of things I would want to deep dive a little further, like string gauge, and of course we didn't even do like cleaning, and there's truss rod adjustments and height adjustments, and I'm not a luthier, and if you're just starting out on guitar, you're probably not a luthier either, but just having some of these basics down, and when you're in the weeds and it's like Saturday night, you're practicing at home, and boom, you break a string, or you pull out that guitar that you've had like stowed away over the winter, and like the neck is all like curved a bit, and you want to go and adjust the truss rod or whatever. Like knowing some of those basics. So I will do a bit more of a deep dive on all that eventually, but this is just to at least get you out of the weeds and know a little bit which end is up when it comes to changing your guitar strings. And then one last thing that I would also say is that I took all the strings off because I've done it so many times. But if you're new to it, and then that allows you to clean it, and then there are some people who will say they never take all the strings. Like but I say when you know what you're doing to a certain extent, nothing that bad can happen by taking all the strings off. You will know how to reset anything then and there if something arises, but chances are you'll be the same string gauge, you'll be doing the same, like it'll be all the same conditions that you're just resetting up. So if you take all the strings off, it won't matter at all. That's my take on it. I'm sure there might be people in the feed typing, no, you never do. Like I've always done that, and the sun came up the next day, and I'm still alive. So, I don't know. And I've seen a lot of guys, way better guitar players than me, just, whoop, I'm throwing on a string, or, whoop, we're going to change it, and they just, and they cut them all, like, and they just go. Like, it's, as musicians, we kind of really love to nitpick over details when it's not going to change all that much at the end of the day. At least for the level of guitar playing where I'm at in my life, I'm not going to record like today the platinum record. And if I was going to go do that, well, I would go to a qualified professional luthier, and they would set my guitar up better than I would ever do. So why would I even spend half my life trying to figure out how to do it perfectly? Like learn some of the basics. And when you're going to that high level, you just pay someone who knows what to do for that high level. And you focus on what your expertise is, which is playing your instrument. So these are our basics. The thing that the takeaway that I'm trying to say though, is when you're first doing this for the very first time, assuming that the strings were put on correctly when you got the guitar, you can visually go and look down here and see which order do I have to turn these things, and do them one at a time. And through observation, you're able to copy and mimic what the other strings look like. And if you do that one at a time with patience, you'll be able to do your string change. It's going to take you like 4 hours the first time. It's normal. That's what it was like for me. And now I can do it and also shoot a video at the same time and explain it to everybody and do it in a few minutes time. Compared to the first times, it's like way quicker. And the only problem is if you do it one string at a time, well then you can't do fretboard conditioning. You can't change a truss rod as the truss rod adjustment as easily. But again, these are things that you shouldn't really be even remotely thinking about on your first string change. And if it does happen on your first string change where you had to do all this stuff, well, it's just the quality of your guitar that you had, or the quality of the luthier or whoever who set it up before you. And that was just out of your hands anyways. And what can you do? Anyways, so that's it. I hope that you found this informative. Once I'm all finally tuned up, then all of these annoying extra bits of string, I've got a little clipper over here, and I'll just clip them off, tune up my guitar. I have a few tricks also for the dreadful, my guitar's always out of tune now that I've changed the strings. There's a few tricks to, you basically gotta bend them like crazy. But I have other tricks. I'll do another video on that. And there you have it. We have our string change. I'll chop this off, tune her up, plug in, and I'm ready to go. So, have a good one. Ciao.